Hi, it's me, Rasheed, coach, speaker and author. Welcome to this, our latest webinar, Inspiring Talk. And we're into a new year, new hopes, new aspirations. And I think that the start of a new year is always a time in which people are thinking about where they are in their lives, personally in terms of their health and their well-being, and also in terms of their career or their businesses. So what I thought I would do here, especially for yourselves as somebody who's on this journey of being your own boss, is to do a very special, short, snappy webinar to help you look at where it is that you are, where it is you're going, so that you can really have a clear plan that can be quite flexible, because as we know, life throws up all sorts of different challenges and so on. So this talk is just about helping you to get the best out of 2017. Or it might even be later than that, than you're watching this, but to help you to get the best out of the year ahead. Because what can happen is, of course, we start the new year and you may already be there where you have all sorts of hopes, aspirations, goals and things that you're wanting to do, or you're feeling refreshed and re-energized. And very quickly you find yourself submerged in the day-to-day and challenges, inquiries, pressures, problems, life balance, business, finance, marketing, operational problems, other issues, other things you're involved in, and before you know it, you could be thrown off of centre. So this talk is really about taking that important time out to just stop, pause and reflect, and taking regular time out, to be honest, is one of the most important things you can do as somebody who's starting your own business. I'm mindful that some of you have been running your own boss, been your own boss, been running your own business for many years. I know that some of you are starting out on that journey, or some of you are really doing a bit of a mixture, that you're working, but it's also something that you're wanting to develop in the background. So wherever it is that you are in that particular journey, you are very welcome. I'm really glad that you've tuned in. Just a few things that might well help you. A notebook to write some notes, or if you're somebody who likes electronic devices, it might be that you're writing things straight into your computer or onto your tablet. One thing that may well be useful for you is the 2-page business plan template, which is in the book, but is also available on soultrader.biz, and you might just find that useful. So feel free to stop this as we go along. You might want to pause it, make some notes and what have you. Okay, so let's get underway. And I think what I want to really talk about is, first of all, your health and your well-being, which is absolutely key, because without that, nothing's going to happen. And then your personal life and the things that really make you feel at your best and buoyant and so on, that's key. We're going to look at that first. Then we're going to be doing a quick temperature check about where it is that you are in your business. Then we're going to be looking at priorities and things that it is that you need to do in terms of key things, in terms of operationally, in terms of your marketing, in terms of your operations. And then I want to end by talking a little bit things like simplifying, systemizing and support that it is that you might need. And also want to talk about courage. A little bit about courage, because it might take courage for you to face the things, the day-to-day things that happen, but also it might be you're at a particular point where it is you're trying to get new funding, you're trying to break into new markets, you're having to do new things, you're having to meet new people, you're needing to pick up the phone for the first time, or your business is beginning to get traction abroad, or that you're trying to raise your visibility, or whatever it might well be. There's so many things along this journey that require courage, and finally compassion. So quite a lot to get through in the next 20 minutes or so. Okay, so let's start off by talking about you. First of all, how are you doing right now? Are you okay? Because we can start a new year and either, first of all, it might be that you're not refreshed. Do you still need time to rest and relax? I certainly know that very often at this time of the year, I quite like to gently ease myself into the year rather than to go full pelt into it. I really need to make sure that I'm still and still relaxed and still centered. So how are you doing? What pace is it that you're going at, and what pace is it that you need to go at? I was just meeting somebody earlier on today who's their own boss, and they've had some, they've been told that they've got some heart challenges. So they need to be really careful and cautious. Wonderfully, they're a wonderful human being with a wonderful spirit. But many of us may well find stuff like that. It might well be for you, it might be all sorts of issues or challenges, or regardless of that, business is something that, if you're not careful, can bring in huge stresses, personally, emotionally, financially, and so on, and that can have a huge impact on you. So how is it that you're doing? And what is your general daily routine that keeps you balanced? That might be a regular routine that you do throughout the year, Or it might be something that you need to change periodically at different parts of the year. So that's something I really want you to consider. Maybe just pause this and to write a couple of notes down. How is it that you keep yourself balanced? What time is it you're going to bed? What time is it you're waking up? Do you need to change it? What's your eating like? A couple of tweaks that you need to make there. Are you getting the exercise that you need? I've certainly got back into walking. I've always used to enjoy walking from when I was very young. And I very often now will take morning walks. I play squash and so on. I find that often I need to vary things due to a number of different factors. But for me, it's being very mindful of starting off the day with some movement, but also with quiet time. What else works for you? How do you start the day? You know, what's your mindset when you even get out of bed? Some people find meditation very useful. Sometimes people find just be useful just to pause and to take a moment to be still, to focus. For me, I quite like to start off with a full cup rather than an empty cup in terms of just thinking about what am I grateful for, being mindful of all of the friends, family, people who are really important to me, and starting from that really space of feeling really good and very grateful. What is it that's going to work for you? What kind of time of day is it that you need to put in that time for you? Along those lines, I think also crucially, I say this all the time to people who come along to my talks, especially at any stage in business, but often when people as their businesses are growing, to put in the time for you, things you love to do, family time, hobby time, put that in the diary first, otherwise it's not going to happen. I'm continually amazed by the times that I take time out of the business and that I'm writing songs or creating whatever it might well be, that has a nourishing impact for me. But I think that's not just about diarising it, putting in your diary. I think that's about just spotting day to day and moment to moment how it is you're feeling, and do you need to just take 5-minute breaks or what have you. So that's the bit about you. Next, let's do a very quick temperature check on where you are in your business right now. How long have you been your own boss? What stage is it you're at? What are the things you've achieved so far? Can you pause and can you write these down? Because sometimes we don't take that time. You might think, you know what, I've registered the business, I've got this in place, I've got all my paperwork in place, I've organised this, I've got my website, I've got this in place, I've got a handful of clients, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this. Write it all down. It's quite amazing. You know, sometimes we're so obsessed by what we perceive that we lack. We forget these things that we have, especially in slightly challenging times. Give yourself credit for all the things that are going well in your business. And I guarantee you that there are some, even if you're just starting out, it's the fact that you're wanting to and that you're passionate about it. Bumped into somebody a while ago who I'd done some work with, and she's trying to set up a health and well-being particular kind of product, and I hadn't caught up with her for a coaching session for a while. And one of the things I was pleased about was just the things that she was telling me about the research that she'd done, the events that she'd gone to, and the experts that she spoke to, the testing the product that she had done, and now she's beginning to think about how it's going to be promoted and so on. All of those things are really significant. Keep a note of them. I often recommend that people keep a document called accomplishments and list all those accomplishments. Again, this is why I really recommend your 2-page business plan to fill that in. What's been achieved? What's working well? It might be worth looking at under 3 headings of financially. Where are you at financially? How's the business doing financially? How's it doing in terms of marketing and reach, visibility? And how is the business doing operationally in terms of all the practicalities, the rules, the regulations, the systems, how smooth things are, having things in place, the technology or the tools that you need to do your business. Maybe give them a score on 0 to 10, 0 being nothing there, 10 being perfect. Or you might want to rate it in some other way. Excellent, good, fair, satisfactory, poor, however it is. So you can just give it each of those areas a quick temperature check. Mindful of that, what are the areas that need some work? You might think actually it's about marketing, I need more clients, I need to be more visible, this needs some attention, I need to understand about social media, I need to be going to more events or what have you, I need to be going to trade shows now because I'm becoming more well known, or I need to be more visible or what have you. Can you just make a couple of notes based on that, based on your temperature check? I think what we're going to do now is to then zoom in and look at some priorities for you for this year. I think it's really important that we don't make this overwhelming. I'm really mindful that many people are kind of time poor, which is quite ironic in this era in which we are supposed to have so many tools to make our lives simpler. I'm very mindful that many people are incredibly busy. So I want to look at some priorities, then I want to talk a little bit about simplifying things, and I want to talk about courage and compassion just to close. So let's look a little bit about priorities. Again, I really highly recommend that you do your 2-page business plan and that you set specific goals of what you're trying to achieve financially. What would you like to achieve? The 2-page business plan encourages you to think about what you want to achieve this year, next year, the following year, etc. Of course, the longer you've been in business, the more it is that you're going to be able to make those projections a little bit more informed projections. I was going to say accurate, anything can happen in the marketplace, but perhaps you've got previous knowledge and that track record about how your business has been doing with trading. It's important that when you're an entrepreneur that works from the heart, that you're not afraid of the numbers and the finances. That is the bottom line of the business. How much money do you need to make and do you seek to make? And perhaps having those goals over the next however many years it is that's apt for you, 5 years, 10 years, step by step, and ask yourself on what basis have you made those particular assumptions. And then you might be able to break it down into X number of this sale, that sale, what have you. Having those financial goals is really important. What about marketing? And the last thing about that is make sure the numbers are specific. And then measure it. Don't worry if 1 year you haven't necessarily made it. What have you learned? Were you overestimating? Had you not really thought about what steps you needed to make? Bit by bit, you're going to raise your game with that. Next, in terms of marketing, where are you at in terms of marketing? What are your marketing goals? It might be about X number of visits to your website, this number of sales. It might well be about reaching this particular audiences. It might well be about having X number of meetings, X number of prospects. But from the point of view of this plan, it's good to start with the end goal of the actual practical thing of what that would look like. So it might be, okay, exhibiting at this show by this particular date. I'm thinking on that, I was just thinking about an entrepreneur that I was at an event with yesterday, and they said, oh yeah, we've got a product, it's a very good product, there's a lot of global reach. And then he realised that the key thing for him, there was one particular country that would be really good for them to focus on because that country had a particular interest in that particular product. So he's now focusing on activities, on trade shows, events, visibility in that particular market. What specifically is you're trying to achieve in terms of marketing. And finally, in terms of operations and management, what are your goals there? Might be that, okay, a new computer that can do this, I want to learn this particular skill so I can do that, or whatever it might well be. What are those operational things that you need to put in place? It might be just new documentation. One of the clients I was working with, they work in a legal field, so there's and the nature of the work that they do is that there's quite a lot of operational materials, documents, systems, checking, automation that's really, really important. Where is that at? And it's going to vary from business to business. So what are those goals? And what's the marketing activity you need to do in order to do that? One of the things that you could do, and the Soul Trader book talks you through this, is what generally speaking needs to be the kind of activity that leads to each particular sale. Roughly how many meetings does it, on basis of how many meetings does it tend for one person to come through a client, or how many people generally does it take to visit your website or X particular page to turn into a sale? That might indicate then the numbers that you need to do. Everybody's business is different, and how you're motivated by that is different, but it's really worth being honest with yourself and asking yourself, what's the activity that I need to do? Are you getting out enough? Are you going enough to events? Are you going to the right events? And that might be where the support comes into place. It might be that you're not quite clear. What are the things that you're not quite sure about? Do you need a mentor? Do you need a coach? Do you need a mastermind group with you and some other entrepreneurs where you get together and you thrash things out, you share things, you support? Are you a member of, there's all sorts of business organisations. There are places like the British Library's Business and IP Centre where I'm a partner. There's business centres now springing up across the country. There's a network that British Library have helped set up. It might be anywhere else in the world where there might be other kind of resources. What works for you? Don't be afraid to go out there and try different things out. Just a couple of things then before we close. I want to talk a little bit about simplifying, systemizing and support. I'm really mindful that it's all very well having all of these goals. Sure, you've got your strategy. Sure, you put in the time for you. Sure, you know the kind of people that you're trying to reach, but there's all this stuff coming in. How is it that day to day you're going to keep yourself on track? And everybody varies in my experience as a coach when it comes to this. Some people are very, very good about assigning different time to certain tasks. For me, as you may have heard, often for me a lot of it is driven by the time that I get up. I'm far more clear, sharp and so on earlier in the day when it comes to writing, when it comes to practical pieces of work, etc. When it comes to my coaching, training, talking, the delivery, meeting with people, I can do that pretty much any of the time of the day because that people work comes very naturally for me. So it might well be that you need to assign set times on a day. It might be that you set particular days for particular activities. That's going to depend on you. If you've got staff or a staff team, it might be dependent on that. It might be dependent on your customers and so on. But really look at that. What's working? What would work for you? How is your day arranged? You know, simple things like just taking regular breaks. It's been said so often. Are you trying to work in 2-hour chunks when you'll be better to work in a 1-hour chunk? If you're stuck or struggling with this, I really highly recommend the creativity chapter in Soul Trader that has got a lot of tips around things, you know, like about coming up with a daily timetable, about managing your tasks, about managing all the day-to-day activities. There's quite a lot of thoughts and tips about looking at your business quarter by quarter. So it might well be you might want to spend a little bit of time just looking at that, and it talks you through filling in your 2-page business plan. So there's lots of tips and tools around that. Simplify what works for you. What's distracting you? Is it that you need to set certain times when you're going to look at your emails or social media? Is it that you need to put the phone in the next room when you're doing certain tasks? What are the things that distract you? Be very, very honest about it. What are the things that support you? What are the things that energize you? Who are the people who support you? You know, sometimes it's these really small things that really can throw a huge spanner in the works. So be mindful about that. And is the help and support that you need? I've touched on that before. So let's just touch on 2 very, very quick things before we close. Courage is one thing I want to talk about. Again, a chapter in the book. Mindful of what we've looked at. We've looked at you, where you are in your life, your well-being. We've done a bit of a temperature check on you and your business, how you're doing financially, how you're doing in terms of marketing and operationally. You've begun to think about your goals, and of course it might be you might need to pause this and come back to it. And on that note, by the way, how is it that you regularly check in, you regularly review? Again, in the book there's lots of tips about that. I have a 10-minute business review. It might be for you, you need to have a half-hour review. What is it that works for you? How often do you need to do that? Do you need to do it weekly? Do you also need to do something monthly? I was with somebody at an event, running an event the other day, and somebody said, yeah, we have our regular team meetings on a weekly basis. I review these particular things on a monthly basis, and I do this in this particular way, and these are the things that I check in with day in, day out. You know, what is it that works for you? But how is it that we can keep these things simple? Is it that you need to, all the routine tasks, think, do I need to systemize them? And do I just need to organize things? Is it that maybe just spending a whole day clearing everything else out, clearing everything out, and tidying everything up is going to have a huge impact on your business? You've really got to know what it is that works for you. And again, if you're stuck, get somebody who's really good at that, at helping you. There's no point trying to spending all your time on something you're not really good at. Get somebody to help you, to support you, or get somebody else in to do that, or swap. There's lots of again in the book, lots of tips about doing that creatively. It's not always about spending money. Do you need a mentor in your field? Courage. What's the courage that you need for this next step along the journey? And again, it might be you might want to reread the courage book, the courage chapter in the book. Maybe it's just the courage to be yourself. Maybe it's the courage to spend one day a week where you're not working and that you're doing something completely different, you're painting. Maybe it's the courage to stop doing particular types of business. Maybe it's the courage to do something else. So ask yourself those questions. What's the courage you need? Finally, compassion. I think that I often say this. I think that courage and compassion are two different sides of the same coin. Sometimes it's about courage. Sometimes it's about compassion. Just being caring towards yourself. Remembering that it's about caring toward the people in your life, caring toward your customers. And sometimes it's operating from this space of heart, which is what ultimately the Soul Trader book and the whole Soul Trader journey, the whole Soul Trader resource is about. Sometimes, when you're operating from the heart, it just makes everything so much simpler. It makes everything pain-free, stress-free, because at last you're seeing things in perspective. Today a quote came to me, which is something along the lines of, see life for what it is, a blessing to be lived, rather than a problem to be fixed. See life for what it is. A blessing to be lived, rather than a problem to be fixed. Danger with business is that sometimes it can seem as all about problem solving. In some ways, that is the nature of what might give birth to a product. But life shouldn't be reduced to being seen as a problem. It's an opportunity, it's a possibility, it's a gift, it's a blessing. And I think the more you operate from that space of heart and kindness, compassion, the more it is you're going to be able to connect with your customers, and your potential customers, which is ultimately what this is about. So I hope there are things in there that have really given you some food for consideration and areas to look at. As you go away from this, it might be that you just pick up one or two priorities. Don't overwhelm yourself, and feel free to come back to this tool, this resource, this talk over the coming months, later on in the month, as we get into the spring or whatever, just to check in with how it is that you're doing. So don't just feel as though this is something you just do once off at the beginning of the year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember that there's far more resources on soultrader.biz. That's soul, as in heart and soul, -trader.biz. So that's soul-trader.biz, B-I-Z. Lots of tools, talks, videos, interviews, etc. Remember that there's a book as well. There's the podcast that you can listen to on the website, or you can subscribe to and get direct to your phone on iTunes. And remember that there's the Soul Trader if you're in London or in reach of London. There's the Soul Trader, Your Life, Your Business web event, workshop, masterclass if you like, that is run once every quarter at the British Library. There's one in February, and there's one in, the next one is then in May 2017. And you can just check the Soul Trader site for details on that, on my website, the Rasheed Ogunlaru website. But I want to wish you all the best for the year ahead. Take good care. Bye.